All right, looks like we made it. All right, we are live. Look at all that. I told y'all I was studying. It didn't want to work, and I got it to work by myself, which is a good thing because my boss. So we got about 1 minute. Let me share something with everybody. We don't have everybody in here. Where's the other folk? They're headed in. Yeah. Good deal. Got some. We have some. We have some housekeeping thing. Come on, gentlemen. Group time. Where you going, Mr. Jackson? Group time.
Miss Roxanne called him back.
He's what?
Miss Roxanne needed it.
Okay.
I'm doing his assessment.
You ready?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna I will meet with my caseworker to get my assessment.
Okay. Okay. All right. For the rest of us, and I was hoping we'd have everybody in here for at least a minute. 1 minute. We got a little bit of housekeeping stuff to do. Remember that you have to have your book for group. We have to have our sign-in sheet going around. A couple of really quick things. The door here, if you are a client, you shouldn't be going through that door without permission, okay? Now, when Miss Rebecca comes to get us, then that's a fine thing. You know, that's okay. We can go get that. Same thing is over at North. We don't go down to Miss Arlene's office. You know, I'm a high muckety muck in here. I don't go to Miss Arlene's office unless it is absolutely necessary. I go and knock on the door and ask permission to come in. We don't go down there and go in her office and go tell her something. Okay? We have RAs. We go to the RAs first. If we have an issue, whatever that issue might be, we go to that RA and we talk to them. If the RA can't help us, what do? We go to our counselor. They're the next level of accountability. So we go to our counselor next. Sometimes it's beyond what the counselor can do. So what do? You ask the counselor to let you come see me. And so you can come into my office. You can go in over there to Miss Valencia's office and you can talk to one of us. We don't mind at all. My door is open. You can just come in. If you have an issue, give me 30 seconds to shut down stuff. I may be dealing with other counselors' stuff, and that's not your business, so we have to shut that down. But then you come in and we'll talk about your business, you know. But you need to let your counselor know that you're coming in here. What that does is tell me you've already talked to your counselor about it. You've gone up through that level of accountability that you need to. If I can't do anything about it, my boss is right down the hallway. We'll walk together down there, right? And we'll get it down. It's just being respectful. If y'all know what the job, what the workload level was that Miss Arlene has down there, you'd understand that. I mean, that lady hits the road running. We have a meeting early in the morning when we get here, and then she's running all day long. You know, so she's busy, busy, busy. Now, she doesn't mind at all. She will help where she can help, but it has to be done in the correct way. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about shutting the lights off when we leave an office. So if you leave an office, you leave the bathroom, you leave whatever room you leave in, unless there's somebody in there. If there's somebody in there trying to do stuff and all of that, you don't shut the lights off on them. But if you're in there, you shut the lights off. Going forward, we really need to be trying to get to group on time. You guys know I don't like incident reports, but on the other end of that, I love incident reports because incident reports help us to deal with issues. Whatever issue might come up, we can deal with that right here and at at North. We can deal with those things. So that's why they're there. It's not to punish anybody. It's not to get anybody. It's just to say, hey, something happened. But when something happens, guess what? You have to go through your counselor, and you have to come to my office and do all of that kind of stuff. So the 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 fewer of those we can get by with, the best. And there's a real easy way to do that. Just follow the rules. Do what you're supposed to do. When y'all know what time we'll get up in the morning. What time we get up in the morning? Right? 6 o'clock. Get up at 6 o'clock. Don't go back to bed. This ain't camp. Don't go back to bed. Go back to bed. We're going to write you up. We're going to write an incident report. We're going to write 3 incident reports up, and then we're going to start writing you up, which is going to cost you some stuff. There's going to be consequences. So if you'd rather sleep than do treatment, this ain't the place for that. I don't want you sleeping in group. I don't want you going back to your bed. Here and at North, don't do those things. Look, we're serious about treatment. We're serious. And you need to be serious about it too, because it's your life, right? So here, now I'm through with all of the hay. Now we're going to do the treatment stuff. Now, one of the things that you will notice this morning, we have to have a goal for this morning. So our goal for today is what? Emotional health. Yeah, we want to learn more about emotional health, and we're going to be looking at depression and anxiety today. We're going to look at something different every day and see how that's going to affect our recovery. We're all about recovery. It's all about recovery. That's why we have this big old sign up there that says recovery, because we're all about recovery. So, and this is why we yell if you're not in group on time. Why do we want you in group on time?
To get all the knowledge that we can.
Get all the knowledge you can, but look, it doesn't, and it hurts my feelings if you don't come to group on time, but that's not the main thing. When we get out of here, we're going to have to be committed. We get a job, guess what? What do they expect? You got to come to work on time. I have a business. I have people who work for me. They show up late how many times? We give them 3 times. 3 times. On that 3rd time, we let them know, we don't go through the formal write-up and stuff like that. I had a person tell me that I had to do that before I could fire them. Do you know that Texas is a right-to-work state? That means I don't have to have any reason. I don't like you. You're fired. I don't like you. This is my company. You're fired. Yeah, you can't do that out of the prison because it's the state. You can't do that here. You have to have some write-ups and stuff because we're paid by the state. So, but in my facility, it's not. We're paid by, the guys come in and say, here's my money. Yeah. And so that's how we get paid over there. So the deal is, somebody comes in late on that 3rd time, we tell them, okay, if you're going to be late, let me help you. If you're going to be late the next time, just don't come because you don't have a job here. It's just it. So we're trying to get to the place where we can be committed to being in the group on time so that when we get out, we know we have an obligation to be somewhere at 6 o'clock. We need to be there at 6 o'clock. So that's what it's all about. This is practice for the real world. Yeah. And so, if you're not practicing right for the real world, there's going to be consequences. And that's why you're supposed to be prepared when you come to group. Same thing. Because when people come to group and they get up 5 minutes after group, go to the bathroom, are they prepared? No. I go to the bathroom before group. Sometimes I go twice. I'll go to this one to make sure it works well. Then I go to that one and make sure it works well. And they both work perfectly fine, And so I can go through the whole 2 hours of group. But if I can't, because at the break time I call my wife. But if I have to, I can go to the bathroom at that. So all of those things are about being able to fulfill my obligation. It's not just being mean. It's not just being, you hurt my feelings when you do those things. So here we're on with today. I wanted to show you this real quickly before we do this. Does this look familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the same person that was up here yesterday. A little, not much has changed, but a little bit has changed. The pterodactyl is gone. Yeah. So this person has improved just a little bit, but there's still some issues with the depression that we're going to talk about, and there's still some issues with anxiety going forward. We're going to talk a little bit about both of those today. Try to get a little bit of an understanding about how to deal with depression and how to deal with anxiety. We do know, of course, that when we are suffering from depression, on any level, that depression can deepen and get to the place where we can lose several things. We can lose our sobriety over the fact that we feel worthless, right? Over the fact that we feel depressed all the time, right? If this is what sobriety feels like, now, if this is what a life of recovery is like, I might as well go back to where I could have some fun and feel good about things and all of that, right? Sometimes that happens. Other times, depression will take us to a darker place, and we wind up killing ourselves. You know, a lot of people that commit suicide are in the midst of a depressive issue, right, or a depressive episode, and so they get really super duper depressed. And there's no look. I have nothing to live for. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I might as well go eat worms. This, you know, no, nobody would. The world would be better off if I wasn't here. My family would be better off if I wasn't here. I would be better off if I was in some other place. All of these kinds of things. You know, we tell ourselves all of those lies and then wind up doing something that's crazy. You know, what do they say about suicide? It's a permanent solution for a temporary situation. Whatever we're going through, we need to get a hold of that terminology. We are going through it, right? It doesn't say whatever we're staying in, whatever we're living in. It says whatever we're going through, right? So we are going through it. What that denotes is at some time, at some point, I'm going to be completed with this. It's going to be over. It's like a toothache. Anybody here ever had a toothache? You like toothaches? No. No, toothaches are horrendous. Toothaches are not good. Toothaches are terrible. So I hate them. But I will tell you this: you go to the dentist and do what's right, then your tooth is going to feel good again at some point. I've had some toothaches in my life, and I know a guy that he has some really bad teeth. Meth will meth with your teeth, right? So he had a real bad toothache. So he went to the dentist, had so much infection in his teeth that they couldn't do anything, but they gave him some antibiotics, right? And so he took the antibiotics with the understanding that once he gets that infection gone, he's going to go over there and they're going to treat the issue. They're going to pull the tooth or they're going to fix the tooth or whatever. So when the infection got out, guess what he did? Yeah, nothing. It's like a leaky roof. When it's leaking, you know you need to fix it. But when the rain stopped, you don't need to fix it anymore, right? And that's exactly what he did. He didn't do it. So anyway, so we need to be working when we're at a place where we have a lot of anxiety in our lives, or we're at a place when we have a lot of depression in our lives. We need to deal with it. We need to understand pretty quickly what we need to deal with. Sometimes it's all it is just a little mild something that we can deal with talk therapy, or we can deal with exercise, the correct diet, and enough sleep, or it could be clinical. And if it's clinical, that means I may need to go see my psychologist, psychiatrist, or my doctor. All right. If you're having that deep a problem with depression, I would prefer you go see somebody like Miss Sierra, because she's a therapist and she knows how to deal with that. Your MD is not a therapist. He's a medical doctor. If you break your arm, they know how to deal with that. But if you break your brain, they don't know how to deal with that. So go to somebody. You don't call an electrician to work on your plumbing. No. You don't call a plumber to work on your television. You don't do that. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I know you can barely wait to get that done. So emotional health on the second day, if you're looking at page 21, so everybody got your book. Go to page 21, David. I tell you every day, I know you're somewhere, but you ain't with us. So go to page 21. And on page 21, um, under Tuesday, so this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So on the Tuesday, it says, okay, we've got some insight and we've got a little bit of acceptance going on. We're not where we need to be yet, but we've gotten out of the total denial thing. You've been willing to listen to some of the professionals in your life. You've completed some assessments and accept insight into your current emotional health. You know there could be an issue. You have not yet moved towards treatment, but you are willing to accept the condition. We're at a place where we know there may be some problem. I might not want to go to treatment yet. There's a money issue. There's always financial stuff. There's always stigmatization things. We know we don't want people to think badly of us and all of that kind of stuff. So sometimes we get to the place where we understand we have an issue, but it's my issue and I'm going to keep it. Wake up if you're in group. If you're in group, get up. Wake up. Thank you. Thank you. I went out to the graveyard the other day. Anybody been to a graveyard here lately? I went out to the graveyard and I was standing in the middle of the graveyard. And I was looking around the graveyard and I just felt the teach come upon me and I started teaching. And then I noticed, there's no reason for me to be, can you think of a good reason for me to be in the middle of a graveyard teaching? And there ain't nobody else out there but the dead people. Why should I teach in the middle of a graveyard? I shouldn't. I also don't teach people who are sleeping. So if you feel like you're going to go to sleep, stand up, go stand by the wall. Okay? Don't do that. Don't go sleeping in the group. It's not what it's for. So here's the deal. We're going to talk a little bit about the cycle of depression. So we hit on depression yesterday for just a little bit, but today we're going to look at the cycle of depression. Depression can, once it gets out of our lives, it can come back around. So we need to know what is causing that depression to come back. And so we're going to take a look at it. One of the things that happens is, how many people know that there are stressors in your life right now? Absolutely. Have I caused any stress on anybody this morning? I hope so. And this is normal, natural thing, that when somebody tells you these are the rules, these are the regulations, don't do that, it causes some stress to go up in our life. That's a normal, natural reaction to somebody jumping in your snuff, right? That's a normal, natural reaction. We're supposed to be able to get that. And so that stress comes. But some of those stressors that we have in our lives can be a little more than we can deal with. So what happens? It can happen. What happens when we have these stressors come in our life, and it can be about anything. We're having some issues at the job. We're having some issues at in our relationship. We're having some issues with our health. Man, that's a big stressor. I have a guy in our church who came and reported to us the other day as stage 4 cancer. You think that stressed him out? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's stressed completely out because of that, and we're having to deal with all of that kind of stuff. We have some other things, life things that happen that cause us some stressors, which go all the way up a lot of the time. Now, here's a stressor. A stressor is any situation that causes strain or hardship on you. That can be short term or that can be long term. Some people have stressful jobs. Right? What's a stressful job?
A job like you got.
Job like I got. Sometimes it's stressful. You're right. Sometimes it's stressful. I have a couple of people. As I look around the room, nobody in here right now does it, but there's a couple of people come busting into my office like they finna whoop up on me. Yeah, and it's always something like, the coffee ain't made yet. Okay. All right, we just ran out of sugar. Okay. That's not my bailiwick. That's not what I do. But thank you for sharing that with me. Please don't kill me. Yeah, and so that stress can go up sometimes. How about a police officer?
Yeah.
Police officers are. That's a stressful job. A fireman, that's a stressful job. When they get up in the morning and head to work, that's a stressful job. President of the United States, yeah, they don't pay me enough, or they don't pay him enough for me to take that job. I would not want that job. I want to be, and I may run for office, I want to be a congressman. I only want to be a congressman for one 2-year term. Because you go up there, they don't pay much, but they pay like $167,000 a year. And then when you retire or when they kick you out the next year, they pay you just about that for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. So, you can just go up there and sit down because that's what most of them do anyway. Just kind of sit down. And every now and then they come by and poke you and you yell at them. And then, or if you wanted to stay in for 2 sessions, you could become a millionaire. Every one of those suckers, they go to the Congress or the Senate and something like that, and they got $12 when they go in there, and 25 years later they come out and they got $38 million and they're doing nothing. So we ain't paying them that kind of money. So it's an amazing thing. But that's all stressful jobs. They're fighting the Democrats and the Republicans. And they just fight each other all the time. So that makes it stressful. No matter what your political ambitions are, it's just stupid stressful. And there's also, how about being a logger? Yeah, somebody cuts down those trees and hauls them off to the lumber yard. Yeah, if that tree falls on you out there, there's not a doctor around or something, you're going to get hurt. And I was talking to a guy, now this was probably 20 years ago, and he was a logger. And he told me, he said, well, I have to go back out there because I make so much money. I said, okay, that's great. Yeah, how much money you make as a logger? He said, I make $100 a day. So, okay, $100 a day isn't bad, but that's not money that makes me want to put my life on the line. Right? No, that's not that kind of money. So the other thing is, what's another one? How about an Uber driver? Yeah, we had an Uber driver come by here, pick up an individual. Doesn't know that individual from anything. Taxi drivers get robbed all the time. Uber drivers get robbed all the time. All kinds of stuff like that. I wouldn't want to be that. I had a lady that worked for me back probably 10 or 12 years ago, and she worked for me, and she was an Uber driver. When she was onboarding into the company, she came to the onboarding thing. You had to go through a training up in Henderson, Texas. It takes a week when you work for MTC. And she went up there to do that, and they called me and said, hey, she's late. So I called her on her cell phone. She said, oh, I'm just getting up. I'm headed over there right now. I overslept. I said, oh, well, you can't be doing that. She said, I have a good excuse. I said, okay, what's the excuse? She said, I'm an Uber driver. And y'all know where Henderson is, about in the middle of the state. And she got an Uber to take from Henderson all the way to Dallas, Texas. So she made $300, but she drove from Henderson to Dallas and then back from Dallas to Henderson before she went to her. Yeah, so okay, you made $300, but you just about lost if you don't get there by this time, you're fired. And so she made it. She worked for me for a little while. She was fairly good at it. So there's always going to be stressors out there. There's all kind of jobs that's going to stress us out. I tell you, if you try to teach school, that's one of the most stressful jobs. There's no way on the face I wouldn't teach a bunch of people. Now, if I was going to teach school, it'd have to be, little kids. I'm not going to teach teenagers, stuff like that. That's just got to be stressful. So it's anything. Now, they can be short term. Sometimes if I'm going down the road and I see somebody coming up behind me 100 miles an hour, there's a little bit of stress that pops up there. If I'm going down the road, there's one place where I'm coming in on 10 in the morning, and it's got where the lane over here quits. It just goes away. And there's always somebody that's going to try to make that other 3 feet. And they make that other 3 feet most of the time. I hadn't seen anybody fail yet. But, I'm always thinking, okay, we're about to have a huge wreck here. And they finally make it. And, so that's stressful. That's short-term stress. But when you get some dread disease, whatever it is, if you have cancer, diabetes, HIV, whatever it is, addiction, whatever disease it is that you have, then you could, that's long-term stress because you wake up in the morning and you got it. I wake up in the morning and I take pills. Before I go to bed at night, I take pills and shots. I take shots before lunch. So that's a long-term stress in our life. Sometimes these stresses, what these stressors do to us is they cause us to have certain thoughts. And so the stressors often lead to negative thoughts. And some of the times, most of the time probably, these thoughts are irrational. And we talked about that yesterday. They can be irrational or they can be exaggerated, right? Because here, when we're in the midst of stress and something like that, any little bitty thing will go over. I'm stressed out. I'm tired. I'm not sleeping well because I have all this stress in my life. I'm not feeling well because I have all this stress in my life. And suddenly, we start having these thoughts in the midst of that stress. When my boss told me, I want you to start using the Google Calendar. Okay, that's Greek. What does that mean in English? I don't know nothing about no Google Calendar. She said, everybody got to do it. Everybody got to use the Google Calendar. And I'm looking at all these clinicians around the table, and most of them like 12, 13 years old. But the older ones of us, we're looking at her and our eyes about this big round. All right. He said, somebody going to show us where that is? I don't know. And so that caused a little bit of a stress in my life, but some of these young people, I look on their calendars, I go and I look on the calendar to the people I'm supervising, and their calendars are full of stuff. And it looks great. I look on my calendar and it says, doing group, doing notes, wondering what else I should do, stuff like that. But those thoughts come up, and one of the big ones is I need to be perfect. Do you need to be perfect? No. No, I feel like the Army. I feel like I was in the Army a long time. Love the Army. I will tell you this, I feel like the Army. The Army says be all you can be. Yeah. Understand, here's the thing that means, if you get it and break it down. Understand your limitations. You got to have some. You got to know your limitations because there are some things you cannot do. You can't do. Can you jump higher than this building? I can. This building don't jump. I can jump higher than this building, right? But I can't jump over this building. Superman can, but he's not in treatment anymore. So I need to be perfect. This is one of the things I suffer from. I do have the disease of perfectionism. That's why I bug people all the time. I want everything to be just right. The other thing we'll say sometimes to ourselves is nobody likes me. Can I tell you that I was speaking to a young, beautiful, highly intelligent young lady this morning, very early, and what did she tell me?
I don't like you.
No, she does like me, but she said nobody likes me. I said, are you sure about that? She said, yes, nobody likes me. I said, I like you. I mean, seriously, I like you. But this is the thing. When we get to that place where nobody likes me, what does that do?
Brings you down.
It does bring you down, and you can think, oh my God, just everybody I've run into just doesn't like me. Nobody likes me. I also had another young lady tell me yesterday that God told her that she had to love me, but not like me. Wow. Oh, that hurt my feelings. Not at all. Yeah, It's not my. Here's the thing: it's my purpose in life to empower other people. I want to see other people get empowered. Sometimes while I'm trying to empower other people, they think I'm picking on them. They think this, that, and the other. And sometimes they don't like me. Does that affect me? Yes, of course. I'm human. I don't allow it to get me to that place of being depressed. But of course, it makes you feel bad for a few minutes. Somebody tell you, man, I don't like you. Okay. All right. That's that's your right. You don't have to like me. Nowhere does it say that you have to like me. So, I can go off and sit down and say, well, okay, I may need to examine myself, and that's one of the things I do. And somebody says, well, you're just a piece of snot. I don't like you. You're a booger. I don't care for you at all. So I'll go to my office and say, what about me makes me boogerized? And then it comes to my mind, I'm boogerized to that one person. Maybe everybody else doesn't think I'm snot, right? Yeah. That's why the other day I was picking my nose and I found something. I thought it was a booger, but it's not.
Who was it? What was it?
You don't get it? He's laughing. Look, he's giggling, but he don't even get the joke. That's it.
I do. I know what you.
So and here's the other thing. Sometimes when we get a lot of stressors, anybody ever messed up a job? I used to be a compressor mechanic years ago. I was supervising this compression little company thing, and we had a compressor, a big old Ajax out there that wouldn't start. So they sent us an expert, an Ajax expert, and this thing, the way that you start it, it has a big old wheel on it, and you get the wheel rolling, and the wheel gets to rolling through the gas that is pumped up out of the ground. It's a gas compressor, and this thing was leaking gas all over the place, and all of a sudden, not liquid gas, petroleum gas, and it's all, and it was just a big cloud of gas over there. And the expert came out there, and there was about 3 of us standing around there trying to get it started. And he said, well, let's check the fire. So he hit a spark across, and it just exploded. And we all had to go to the hospital and all of that kind of stuff. So he made a horrible mistake. And, when we're at the hospital and your skin's falling off and all of that kind of stuff, he said, hey, man, don't tell him I did that. Tell him you don't know. I said, okay, yeah, right. But that caused a lot of stress and stuff in there. But something happens. But and he may have felt like at that point in time. Sometimes I've screwed some stuff up. Sometimes when I'm sitting there in the leadership meeting and I'm watching Miss Sierra and the boss is talking and she okay, I'll look over there and there's another client. A clinician, another leadership member. They're all, I'm going, okay. So I pop mine up and it might not say anything, but it looks like I'm typing it up, And then later on, I have to get the information from one of them that really did it, And in situations like that, that's a little bit stressful. And the thought runs through my mind, well, I'm not good at anything. Is that true?
No.
Absolutely not. And the same thing goes for everybody in the entire world. When somebody tells you that or you tell yourself that, you look at that and say, well, I'm just not good at anything. Are there things that you are not good at? Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. There's always going to be stuff you don't do as well as other people. But that don't mean you're not good at other things. Right? That means, look, to say to yourself or to allow somebody else to tell you that you're not good at anything, that's just not something that should ever happen. Sometimes we need to look and figure out what we are good at and then do that. Do that. My dad that was one of the only things he taught me. Find something you're good at and then do that. So, still looking. Oh, it's okay. Still looking. So when I do those things, when I tell myself those things, those thoughts do what? What do you think those thoughts will do? And this, say it again. They'll manifest some things. Thoughts are powerful, powerful things. As the Bible says, as the man thinketh, so he is. I used to have, I'm going to get me another one, put it on the wall. I used to have a sign that said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And it's true. So whatever you decide you are, that's what you are. I'm a confident, powerful, spiritual man. That's who I am. You don't have to believe that. It's important that I believe that, not yours. If you don't believe that, that's fine. But I have to believe that. So I'm a powerful, confident, spiritual man. That's who I am. So here's the thing. These thoughts that we have through our mind, if we're thinking, well, I'm not good at anything, nobody likes me, the world would be better without me, all of that kind of stuff leads to feelings. Like Arnell said, they manifest into pain. They become feelings in our lives. And it says the way a person thinks about something has a major impact on the way they will feel, and vice versa. So how we feel sometimes has a major impact on what we're thinking. And a lot of look, if nobody likes me, everybody hates me, all of that kind of mess, the world would be better off without me, that's going to make me sad. To make you sad, it's going to make me sad. It's going to sometimes cause anger. Well, I'm not all that bad a guy, so I don't know why people don't like me, so you get mad about it. Sometimes it's going to cause you to have hopelessness. I don't have any hope at all. Nobody likes me. I can't get a good job. My car just broke down. All of this kind of mess. So it gets you to a place where you're hopeless. You have to know when someone gets to the place where they'll take their own lives, they don't have any hope left. Right? They've got to have gotten to the place where if there's some hope left that things might turn out right, that gives me the ability to remain here. Okay, today is crappy. I've had some crappy days, right? Everybody gets some really nasty days from time to time, but the fact that I have a nasty day going on today does not say that tomorrow's going to be exactly the same way, right? Okay. We're going to talk a little bit later on about how you make sure that tomorrow's not that way. I'm going to get up different in the morning. So sometimes it can cause hopelessness. It's always, and not always, but a lot of the times it's going to cause loneliness. Because when I get into that state of mind, I'm by myself, whether I'm by myself or not. One of the great things that we need to understand is I can be alone in a crowd. I take everybody. We got a crowd of people in here, but if you're in one of those situations, you can be alone. You can feel lonely. So one of the things that's really this is important. We need to get to the place where we understand that our thoughts have power. Your thoughts have power. What you think is what you are. What you think is what you do. What you think is where you're going to become. If you're thinking you're that way, that's where you're going to go. So, what your thoughts can do is lead to physical symptoms. If you think the wrong way, it can make you sick. That's an amazing thing. To me, that's amazing. Your mind is so powerful, your thoughts are so powerful, they can actually make you ill. But if your thoughts can make you ill, what else can they do?
Make you want to do negative things into action. Like drugs.
They can put, the right things into actions and all of that stuff.
Like that.
Yeah.
What I mean?
I do know what you mean, I think. But what we see is if our thoughts can make us sick, our thoughts can make us well. One of the big things when these people come down, they say, "Look, we need to get prayed for, man. We've got cancer, we've got stuff like that." One of the things I want to know is what you're doing. What do you mean what I'm doing? What are you doing? You need to start thinking positively. You need to start speaking positively. You need to start eating right, sleeping right, and exercising. Well, I'm going to die. Yes, you are. So am I. So is everybody. We're all going to die unless the Lord Jesus comes back first. We're all going to suffer from purification. We can't get away from that. But whatever's going on with you, if you do all these things, then you're going to be in a better shape. Even if you have stage 4 cancer and you get up and start moving and eating the right stuff and all, it's going to improve your health and you may live longer if that's your goal. You may do that. So it causes some physical symptoms. The body responds to stressors negative thoughts, negative and feelings with physical symptoms. One of the things stress will do is make you extremely tired. You will be suffering from fatigue. So you know right away if you're tired, if you're really tired at the end of the day. Sometimes I'm tired at the end of the day. I get home about 6 o'clock at night, and when I get home, I have work to do. My wife is not capable as she used to be, and so I have to do the things to get the house ready for the night. And so, I still have to work when I get home. So I usually get to sit down about 7 o'clock, and then I go to bed at 8 o'clock. So, I'm usually got a little fatigue going on. So if you have some fatigue and you haven't been working that hard, if you're not digging a ditch and doing things like that, you can look back on that day and see where the stress was. And that's some of the things you can take out of your life. It can mess up your sleep. Y'all ever had an issue like that? When you know you got to give a report the next day, you know you got a test at school the next day, you know the big boss is coming around. Tomorrow is your evaluation, and you're waiting on your evaluation, and so that night before you can't sleep. Going for a job interview, you can't sleep. All of those kinds of things. It also causes poor concentration. You just can't concentrate. You can't do the things you need to do the things they pay you for and all of that kind of stuff. And you get a loss of motivation. Right? You get a loss of motivation. When I'm stressed out, don't feel well, then I have a real lack of motivation. And the lack of motivation starts in the morning when I get up. I don't want to go do this. I don't want to go do that. I don't want to do this. I do a Bible study in the morning. And sometimes when I pull the Bible out, I do one chapter in the Old Testament and one in the New Testament. And some of those in the Old Testament are long, hard, and just can't get motivated. And then you come to work and your motivation level is not what it ought to be. So it messes with our motivation as well. So then what happens? If we're feeling all of this mess, all of this stuff's going on, what's the next part of this cycle?
Stress kicks in.
Stress kicks in again, and we have some behavioral responses. I watch folks in group. I do group all the time. I do it 5 days here. I do it other places. I preach on Sunday morning. So I watch people as I'm doing that, and a lot of times I can tell people who are in some stressful situations. Because you can see the behavioral things in those folks. Some of the behavioral things, the way a person acts in response to thoughts, feelings, and symptoms will worsen with these stressors that get in our life, or they will create new stressors in our lives. And some of the things that we will do when we get all stressed out and all of that kind of stuff, and we're tired and we're hopeless and we're sure nobody likes us and all of that kind of stuff, is we'll start practicing social isolation. What does that mean?
Stay away from people.
Stay away from people? Yeah, I want to isolate myself. Is it okay to be alone?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's okay. I have an office at my home, and that's my office. And when I go to my office at my home, usually, now my wife has carte blanche. She can do what? That's her house, and I just live there. But that's my office, and usually that place is for me. That's my sanctum. I go in there. I have my computer in there, and I can do what I need to do in there and all of that kind of stuff. If she wants to come in there, she's going to come in there. But nobody else. Nobody else comes in there, so I have that place. It's okay to be alone for a minute. It's okay to be by yourself for a little while. That's not isolating. That's just taking a minute for yourself. But if you're isolating, that's why you can be alone in a group, because you're not socially connected with anybody. When I have all of these stressors in my life, I don't want to be connected to anybody else. I don't feel like being connected to anybody else. And as long as I'm not connected to anybody else, my depressive issues deepen. Because we are people who need people. We need love and belonging. We need relationships. So we need people. So it's going to be social isolation sometimes. And Once we get to isolating socially, we will neglect our daily tasks, the things that we have to do. Now, all of us have things that we have to do, right? There are things we have to do. Well, I don't have a job and I don't have a partner in my life and I don't have, I don't go to school. I don't do any of those things, but you still have things you have to do. If you're living on the streets, you're still looking for breakfast, right? You have to eat. You have to do those things. You have to sleep. You have to do. There's some things you have to do. And when you start neglecting those things, then your life suffers, and you get into a deeper level of depression. So that's not a good thing. And then at this point, a lot of the times we begin to abuse drugs and alcohol. That's when relapse becomes an issue in our life. Right? So what happens after that? We have a behavioral response, and then we go back up. This is where the cycle comes from. We go back up and get involved in those stressors again, and we go back to thoughts, feelings, physical symptoms, and then we have some behavioral responses, and we go back up, and our life becomes merry-go-round, and we just keep doing this and doing that. So, what do we need to do?
Seek help.
Seek help. That's a good plan. Seek help. One of the other things that we can do is determine what we're going to do. We need to determine that, hey, look, I'm going to get myself out of this. Tomorrow is a new day. And if tomorrow is a new day, what can tomorrow be?
Better day.
A better day. Tomorrow can be a different day. Tomorrow can be a stress-free day.
A new beginning.
A new beginning. So here's the day. What am I going to do? Here's the deal. What am I going to do tomorrow when I get up?
Meditate.
Meditate.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Right.
Pray. All of those things. I do all of those things. And one of the things, if I'm in depressive situation, if I'm depressed, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go try to have the best night's sleep I can. I'm going to do all of the tricks that I know to get some sleep. And then I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to start to practice positive self-talk. I'm going to look, and I know I beat on that a lot. Why do I beat on that a lot? Because it works.
It helps your behavior.
Helps your behavior. It works. It's absolute. And look, what you say you are. As a man thinketh, he is. As a girl thinketh, she is. So we need to take that to heart. And what I say is what's going to become in my life. And if I whatever, I'm not depressed. So when somebody asks me, how you feeling today? Fantastic. I'm feeling wonderful. I'm rich, young, good looking. I feel fantastic. Is that always true? No, but that's what I want in my life, right? Yeah, I want to feel that way. I want to be, I'm not rich, but I want to be rich. I want to be, in a certain way. I want to have enough. I don't want to ever win the lottery. That's why I don't play. I don't want $1 billion. I don't want $1 million. I want enough money to go out and eat. That's kind of weird. That's about it. That's about $40. I want to have $45, because I got to get $5 for a tip. So I want to have that, But oh yeah. So I'm rich, young, and good looking. All of that. Yes.
Seems like you cheating on the Rockets. You going out and eat for $40 and she ain't coming out here. It's gonna be a little bit more.
She goes. She comes with me. If you go out here you can go to Hamilton.
You go to Louis and get a.
Would you go to Hamilton's out there, which is a nice seafood? Oh yeah, of course you do. Every day, about the same time. You can't wait to 10 minutes.
And you got one. Did you receive citizen discount?
I do get a senior citizen discount. Just about it. If I don't get a senior citizen discount, I get a veterans discount.
And you get a doctor's discount.
I don't get a doctor's discount.
Oh,
I don't get
man.
But what you want, you need to know what do you want to be. I want to be a good father, and I am a good father. I want to be a good husband, so I'm a good husband. So when I'm talking about that, I say that. We talked about this yesterday, and I do it a lot because it's important. People don't do it. When I talk to people, almost always they use negative self-talk. So how you doing today? Well, my lumbar is acting up. When I do this, hurts. When I do that, it don't feel good either. And I just think nobody likes me, and everybody hates me. I'm an addict, and so I'm gonna die. And I know I'm gonna relapse when I get out of here. Okay, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's what you want, keep saying that. Keep doing that. But if you'd like to change that, then you need to say, well, I am a good mom. I'm a good dad. I'm a good grandmother. I'm a good granddad. I'm a good counselor. I'm a good welder. I'm a fantastic human being. I am a rich, young, and what? Handsome. Men fear me. Women desire me. All of this stuff. Be willing to put it out there that this is who I am. And again, I know I told y'all this 14 times, but I have learned that people don't listen. So 14th, 15th time, what you say is what you are. So when I'm saying what I am, I've had people tell me, well, I'm not going to lie about it. Well, somebody needs to lie about it. Somebody needs to lie to you about you because you're in sad shape. It's not lying. What it is, it's my goal. This is what I want to be. You may not be able to look at me and say that's exactly who you are. But if I keep saying it, that's exactly who I'm going to be. Right? Yep. That's going to work like that. So look, it's almost like magic. If you want to be something, you say that. Now here's the deal. This is all in our our emotional state, all of our mind. One of the things I say to myself every morning, and I pray about it too, is to be a confident person. I am a confident person. I'm confident. I'm not egotistical, but I'm confident in who I am and what I am and all of that kind of stuff. I'm confident about that. We need to be telling ourselves we're confident people. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. I'm confident in that. I've read that, I believe that, and I'm confident in that. Right? I can make it through the whole group without having to go to the bathroom. I can make it through the whole group without having to take a nap. I can pay attention and I can do all of those things. We need to just be positive about who we are. Positive self-talk works. And we need to listen to ourselves. One of the things that we do in other places is go to the mirror and rehearse what we want to be. Rehearse positive self-talk. We have had people tape their whole day, their whole conversation, what they say, and then listen to it. You ever listen to yourself on tape?
Yeah.
You sound really goofy. You sound
embarrassing.
Man, I listen. We do when we do our sermons on Sunday morning, and then on Wednesday night it's broadcast. So you can go on YouTube and watch our services. And I have watched a couple of those, and I'm thinking, good, great. That's a hicky old man. I sound like I come from Mississippi, where I come from. So I feel sorry for you guys having to listen to me all day long. But we need to do that. We need to stand in front of the mirror and practice saying who we really want to be. And here's the point I was going to make. It's all about those things like depression. I am not depressed. I am positive. I'm feeling good. I don't have any anxiety in my life. I can handle the stressors and all of that stuff. It doesn't work on stuff like I'm a pilot. If you keep saying you're a pilot, will you be a pilot? If you go do the things you have to do, it takes 40 hours of training to be a pilot.
They need pilots.
Say it again?
They need pilots.
Oh, they do need pilots. Yeah. They do need pilots. You got to be willing to work for little money. There's not a lot of money in being a pilot.
Just one question. You hear speaking of things, you're on a private pilot, you're on a plane. You're not talking about flying. Or is 747.
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
I know that's what I'm saying. I'm just getting it straight. So,
Yeah, he was talking about.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
No, when you go out here and you go and study for your private pilot's license, it takes you 40 hours. It's about $20,000 nowadays, and you can fly like a 172.
Yeah, the little small.
Yeah, 172 is a 172 is a 4-passenger airplane. You can put 5 people in it. They don't recommend it. You can also fly a 152 Cessna, which is only a 2-person airplane. You and 1 passenger. You are not allowed by law to charge to fly anybody. You can't say somebody, okay, I'll take you to Dallas for $200. You can't do that.
Can't charge.
No, you can't, that's a commercial pilot, and you can't be a commercial pilot. But what you can do is say, hey, I'm going to fly you to Dallas, but could you help with the gas?
Permission.
Yeah, can you help with the gas? And, if they want to say, yeah, because the gas is expensive. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's interesting.
It's important, too, I can tell.
It is something.
Anybody else, anything? We're going to take a break here in just a minute. We still got 5 whole minutes, but look, I don't want to start on our other side. We have another cycle that we're going to be talking about, and it's about cycle of avoidance when we get to anxiety. So we're going to be talking about the cycle of avoidance, which is the anxiety trap. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I do know a lot of people who suffer from anxiety a bunch, and I've told y'all probably 100 times. My wife suffers from high anxiety. What's the difference between anxiety and high anxiety? More elevated, that's a good way to say it. Anxiety is natural and normal, and everybody gets it, right? You have anxiety sometimes. When my Mr. Dennis calls me to the office down there, there's a little bit of anxiety. What did I do? What's going on? What does he want now? There's all that. That's a little bit of anxiety. Clinical anxiety is what high anxiety. Clinical anxiety is anxiety you have to go see a doctor about and get them to do some stuff, give you some medication and stuff like that. And my wife suffers from that. She can go into a restaurant and be fine. When she goes in, she sits down. The lights, if there's a kid in there, we're done. But, the lights and the noise and the stuff, before you know it, she's shaking real bad because her high anxiety kicks in, and I'll have to help her to her car. So she can still drive, and she does all of that kind of stuff, and she goes and does what she needs to do. But when she gets to the place where that begins to affect her, she has to go home. So, and she still leads the music at our church. And, she doesn't do as near as good a job as she used to. And we have a minister, our men's minister. He sits way in the back of the church for some reason. But every time she's coming off the stage, he'll come up front to make sure he helps her down off of that stage. So, he's a good fellow. So we're going to go ahead and take our break. We're going to go all the way to 15 minutes after. So y'all come back at 15 minutes after. We'll talk about anxiety.
Yes. I'm gonna go in there in that meditation room. Put the meditation room. Go in there and take a nap. Second
And got it all linked together. So,
the whole thing. The last week I got, because I was in your office filing some papers and I could hear her starting. It was good. It's like a straight, like a pretty magazine. It's nice.
Try to think something. Take my pen.
I must not. I know I'm quiet. Then I'm wondering how I look because everybody's concerned. Are you okay? I'm like, do I look like I'm okay?
I think I'm going to be lying on glasses. The thing that I am.
Look, I'm not wearing my glasses. I've got my eyelashes on.
You're just naked.
My face is naked. I laid up so long that my cartilage piercing, I had to take it out because it was sore. From laying on this side watching Netflix and everything.
So that okay. What speed? Speed. I'm wait, but it's on that.
And and I went to jail and had to check them out. And I mean, that's, and I'm going to say something. I'm not, of course, okay, here, of course, love hard, because that don't ever go, that don't go, I'm saying, yeah. But,
Oh, it's crap.
they close.
That's crap. So man, all of this stuff.
I know, I'm proud of mine. I had a very good set. That was before I had the second two. I never did for that part of stuff, but I changed something. For some of the days, something that you have, they made it different.
I'm like, I'm gonna do for all that power.
So you're bullying me.
I'm 5'2", sir. How can I believe that?
Um,
You just degraded me.
I thought with you, and I believe you all the time.
Yeah, you got short man syndrome. I'm gonna go.
I'll pull that part
I think it's basically hard thing I heard with my daughter. Oh, she had a heart meltdown. I know that. she takes things and tell her she acts like a white girl because she's like, you know what, I'm not a white girl. So how I'm acting is how I am. And I don't see why I deal with them names, but it's bullshit. Because I'm not even a white girl. That's all it is. So when she can't stand when people tell her that she acts like a white girl, and she's like, I'm not a white girl, so how can I act the other way but the way I am?
What is it? My niece is Dale, and so she has her mama's moments where, and I always tell them that she has her ghetto moments, and then she has her country moments. You know, because with her daddy, she's in boots and cowgirl, but when she's with her mama, she's got her weave, and she almost beat some girl up this weekend because she got cake in her weave, icing in her weave. She's 12. She's so dang beautiful though. She looks like my brother, but she's darker complected. She has black curly hair, dark eyes, so gorgeous.
I have a niece, I have a niece and a nephew with Sierra is in there until she's accent. He started to give a little, he was 13 now. Back to the picture. Yes. Man, when people don't know that my name is black, some of the white people say some of those jacked up stuff. Other black people too. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
My grandson doesn't at all.
That's on top of what it is.
Yeah, and his eyes are still blue.
Oh.
And his daddy's pink. And then my granddaughter's Filipino, and she don't look, I mean, she just beautiful.
I don't know. She has a person. Cool. Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
This is the cutest story.
It was so funny because
Oh, wow. My son kept asking me this, and I didn't realize it was the person. He kept asking me where you,
and I'm thinking like, oh, is there something to get saying?
he does speak to me, so
I'm thinking, oh, this is like, no, one of them are black. And I was like, in the summer, what are you talking about? No, like, Chloe, we're not going to come down on the holiday. You're not going to give that great look, sir. That's not how it works. I'm like, thanks.
Oh, man, that's common.
No problem. And he's like, and he's still, I don't know if it's funny because just within the last year or two, have I been able to make them understand that their dad is not the older kid's dad. And then in the beginning, I don't know what they got because um, but I kept telling them like, no, they're super days. And then I think for a while, I don't think I know for a while, they didn't even realize I was my older kid's mama. And I'm like, why something? They're talking about the six here summer. But that's like your brother and sister. Oh yeah, he did. He was so sad. He was brown. He just wait. I think he thought he got about 12 or so to the total extension. Like, dude, I'm still waiting on mine. It's so cute. I just I swear.
How old is he?
He just turned 9.
When did you guys say?
This was, it was like a year ago. He was a bad man. He mourned the fact that he was not going to fuck the black man.
Damn. And you don't bring him no more?
She wanted to have it. And her attention, not going to do it. And she was mad at her mama. I messed up my curl texture. I messed up my hair texture. Not getting afro.
See, my son, his hair has got a different texture than his sister, but Lexi, there's never gonna be no afro, none of that. Like, she just someday, it's gonna be pretty and I feel like hers is silky. Then her brother's has got a different texture at the roots of the scalp, but it is super thick, so he got us something going on. But I told him it looks like Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. I'm like, go in there and show that Sideshow Bob looking hair.
So one day, we went to Alabama to visit some family. And so, and cousins were all there. They're, girls are just braid, not braid, braid more than the guys have, or them just squeeze the scalp. And so we went into the here, was like, we're Tyson. And so she does the reason the scalp, and I'm like, I'm sitting like you straight. Moms are well enough. I don't know that you don't just more time we just got this time. This was the cutest thing. He just had just go with it. Sarah showed me how to do it. It's last, well, what was that? There's drinks, like the drinks and everything, like the glass bottle was drinks. It wasn't fun. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I can see
And
it.
she just going over just said drinks.
But had some on my hand. Some on my hand. Oh my Lord.
Hilarious stuff. There's a story up about that, huh?
He's still great. I'm
I
sorry.
can imagine.
I'm like that. Bubby is like that because Mr. BJ's dad. That's what I call the older kid's dad. So now he's gonna be mad since his dad's white. I just tell him to be mad at his dad. It's dad's fault. It's your daddy's fault. I didn't know for the longest. I thought he was talking about. I really did. I thought he was talking about entertainment.
And he just talking about it.
He wants to say he might get
Yeah.
anyway. It's sweet how is you know what I mean? They just
I can't wait to my boys to the they talk about it. They're really able. I can't wait.
feel good. Hysterically.
She's saying she can't. She's just talking. So what you today? It was I'm sorry. It was I love
You know how they're like that.
you know the reason she knows Sierra showed me something. Some leaders understand that all.
They trying to wash that stuff out for a week. I used to like get my hair wrapped on. I don't know if it's the light blower thing. I don't press my eyeballs. I don't press my over here. Oh yeah.
She put a drink.
Huh?
She put a drink.
Yeah.
He's a man of his word.
Yes, he
All right. We're back. So, everyone listened to us talking earlier about obligation, about being on time for group and all of that stuff, because I can notice that the whole group, well, not the whole group, uh, well, about half the group, some of the people decided to come back anyway. I'm hoping all of the folks at North made it. We're going to be looking at anxiety, and we've already done the depression thing, so now we're going to go over into anxiety. Miss Kim, you have some guys that are still outside?
I know
So we're going to go over this cycle of avoidance, and this is called the anxiety trap. This is one of the things that traps us into anxiety, and I want to talk to us a little bit about that this afternoon. We'll go through it as quickly as we can and get on out of here in time. But some type of when we get to the place of anxiety, someplace, something, a situation, whatever it is, triggers an anxious response that includes thoughts, physical symptoms, and feelings. You know, that's exactly the same thing almost that we just got through talking about when it comes to depression. Why do you think they're so similar? Depression and anxiety, why are they so similar?
They have a lot of the same roots, or they can have a lot of the same roots.
Yeah, they come from the same place. They're all in your mind. So they're all coming from the same place. So any situation that triggers an anxious response includes thoughts, physical symptoms, and feelings. Now here's the deal. Thoughts, when we have some thoughts that are caused by anxiety, we tend to fixate on worst case scenarios. What does that mean?
Like, say that again. I'm sorry.
We fixate on worst case scenarios.
We convince ourselves that the worst possible outcome is the only outcome.
Yeah, the worst possible outcome is the only outcome. So nothing good can possibly happen, right? We can't get it our way. Things are not going to go well. We're not going to Burger King. We're not going to get it our way. All of that kind of stuff. So we have a fixation. What did we call that yesterday?
You talking about the disqualifying versions?
We talked about
Manipulations? No.
catastrophizing. We talked about awfulizing. Everything that's going on has to be awful, and everything that's going on is going to be a catastrophe.
Oh.
Yeah, do catastrophes happen in your life?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Saw a thing on the news, and I know this is kind of nasty, but I saw a thing on the news where they were putting a 8-year-old boy in jail. He had put his little sister in the microwave and turned it on and cooked her.
Oh my
Killed her.
God.
Yeah. And so, is that a catastrophe?
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
On just about every level you can think of, that's a catastrophe. That little baby lost her life. Beautiful little baby. She lost her life. Little brother, they put him in jail. I mean, he's 8 and he's going to jail. So there's some issues there. So we fixate on the worst case scenario. Here's the deal. There are catastrophes that happen. There are awful things that happen. But not everything is an awful thing. And not everything is going to wind up being a catastrophe. Right? Not everything. So this is a catastrophe. This is awful. This is awful. It's terrible. It's nasty. It doesn't have to be, So I'm going to talk to you. No, I'm not. So I'm not going to lie to you. So fixation on the worst case scenarios, and we have a lot of the time we have doubts about our ability to cope with it. You ever been in a situation where you had a doubt about your ability to cope with it? Yeah, that's going to make you anxious. I can't. Whatever it is. If you start talking to yourself with negative self-talk and you say, well, I can't, then that's going to get us to a place of anxiety. Whatever it is, I can't do this. You ever been in an airplane when it's stalled? Every airplane stalls. Every airplane stalls. You have to learn how to deal with the stall. They all stall at different speeds. A different type of airplane will stall at a different speed. When you're learning how to fly, they make it stall. You'll go and cause the aircraft to stall. Why do you do that?
So you know how to deal with it?
So you can recover. Yeah, so you can recover the stall and you don't crash because your airplane has stalled. But when you get into that stall, the first 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 12 or 15 times, you have some anxiety. Because there's been a lot of aircraft that land on the ground out there pretty hard because they couldn't recover from the stall. So that causes a little bit of anxiety, right? And why is that? Why would it cause you some anxiety?
There's a thought of it going bad. Like,
maybe I can't do it. Yeah, maybe I can't fix this stall. Maybe I can't recover. Maybe I can't make it level back out. Maybe I can't make it fly. Because that's what a stall is. It ain't flying anymore. So I can't make it fly. So, you get into that place where I can't cope. When you come to work sometimes and your boss says, this is what I need. I just had another thing put on me, and I can do it, absolutely. It's no big deal. But when first thing it came up with, there was that little thing there. Maybe this is going to be more than I want to do, and so that caused a little tiny bit of anxiety, right? So if you let that get out of control, what's it going to do? It's going to go through the roof, cause you a whole bunch of anxiety and stuff you won't be able to deal with. So here's what those thoughts, we just talked about this with depression. The scenario is almost exactly the same because like we said earlier, it's coming from the same place and it's caused by the same situation. So it's going to cause us some physical symptoms when that happens. We get this thought about, look, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. Doubts about my ability to cope with it. I can't handle this. I can't do that. The first thing it's going to cause is some shallow breathing. We're going to almost start to pant sometimes. What does that do? It does have to cause that anxiety, but anxiety causes that type of breathing. That keeps us from having the deep breathing that we need to have, and it'll cause some oxygen deprivation. You're not getting enough air into your lungs. And if you're a smoker, it's 10 times worse. So, causes some shallow breathing, causes a racing heart. Your heart now is trying to get oxygen to all of your little spots in your body that needs oxygen. So where does your blood take oxygen?
The heart's everywhere.
Everywhere. Every cell in your body. The blood goes to every cell in your body, brings it food, and picks up the waste. Your body is an amazing thing. So your blood has to do all of that stuff. So your heart's racing now. You're not getting what you're supposed to be getting. The blood is still going to all of those places, but it's not delivering what it's supposed to deliver because it's going there quicker and it's getting out quicker. So it's not picking up what it's supposed to pick up. So you're having some problems there. You're going to start shaking because your body is getting into a low-level fight or flight syndrome. And so you're going to start shaking. Some people don't deal with it that way, but most people shake a little bit, and then you're going to start sweating. Why are you sweating? Your heart rate is up. It's pushing the blood through your veins a whole lot quicker. This causes the response that your body does at fight and flight to get you some sweat that comes out to help cool your body down. Because as your blood goes through your body quicker, what does it do? Raises your temperature. You're getting hotter. Your brain is getting warmer. So your body starts to sweat in order to lower your temperature and stuff like that. So you start having these are the physical things that happen in your body when you get into that place of anxiety. So you have some feelings. We have a feeling of dread. Y'all ever had a feeling of dread? Do you know what that feeling feels like? What does dread feel like?
You're just dragging.
You're dragging. Worse than that. Worse than that.
Got something to do, and you don't want to do it.
Yeah, you got something to do. You don't want to do it. We anticipate whatever it is that we have to do with great apprehension or fear. That's dread. One of the symptoms of a heart attack is suddenly you have a feeling of dread and you don't know why. You're anticipating something, you just don't know what. So when that happens, along with a few other things, you might need to go see the doctor. But when we're in that anxiety spot, we have some dread, we have some irritability. A lot of anxiety will cause you to be irritable easily. right? And you know, when I'm under a lot of stress and I get anxious about something, I can get irritable, right? My wife can say something, or some of the clients can say something, or some of my friends can say something, or whatever, and just I have a really poor response to it because I'm already irritated. You know, and that's not a good thing. I don't like to have that happen, but it happens, right? It happens to everybody, right? So when I get irritable and stuff, I see people, give me a bad look and all that kind of stuff. But that happens to everybody, and that happens to me as well because I'm human. And so I don't, I can apologize for being irritable and all of that stuff. We went out to eat Sunday, and my wife was a little snappy at the lady there that has been our waitress for a bunch of times, and she was a little snappy to her. And she, after it was all over with, she apologized, but she was a little bit irritable because of all of the high anxiety and everything that caused irritability. And she's a little bit irritable, and it's our favorite restaurant in the world, and they've changed everything. And so, I don't know how long it's going to be a favorite restaurant. They give you these, what are they called?
Rolls.
The rolls, but they're yeast rolls, and they're real thick, and they're really, really good.
Warm.
And yeah, they're great, and they're big. Now we got one. When we went, they were smaller, and they were not thick like a yeast roll. They were kind of okay. That's not good at all. They changed their mango stuff, so when my wife gets a mango tea now, it tastes like she can't drink it. It's so bad. And she bought a hamburger, and they usually make a really good hamburger. And she said the meat was mushy, and so she had to feed it to the dog. And you're paying $30 for a stinking hamburger, and you got to, yeah, the meat was weird. So, people trying to do things. Even the butter was different. They usually give you 4 or 5 little pads of butter that have been warmed a little bit and they're really nice. Now they're giving you just one, and it's bigger, but it's not good butter. So that might be enough. We might go back once or twice, but we won't go with all.
Cheddars. No cheddars.
No, cheddars.
I was going to
Cheddars.
say Roadhouse, but
No, this was Hamilton's. Hamilton's is a seafood restaurant. But Cheddar's, we go to Cheddar's every now and then. But we used to get that. I haven't gotten it in years, but we used to get that great big old piece of chocolate pie. Chocolate cake. They don't do that anymore. The cake is about half the size. Got nuts on it, and it's just they ruined it.
I know. I hate when they.
Yeah, I hate it when they do things like that.
Ribs are good.
So we're in, y'all excuse me. So we're in the cycle of avoidance, and here's what we do. We've got some anxiety going on, so we start doing some things to avoid the things that cause us the anxiety, right? Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Well, sometimes if there's something that's really, really anxiety causing in my life, I don't want to get around it. I don't want to do some of those things, but I also don't want to have the fact that something makes me anxious cause me to have to change my life. There's some things I like to do. I love to fly. And sometimes it causes a little bit of anxiety and stuff because there's things that go wrong and stuff like that. I'm not going to allow that to keep me from flying. On my birthday, I'm going to be in the air. I'm going to be in the air. Going over here at I can't rent an airplane right now and all of that kind of stuff. I'm on insulin, but I can go and get what's called a discovery flight. I can go to the airport in Beaumont, and you get a 172 Cessna 172. And the instructor has to go with you, but you can fly for about 30 minutes. Yeah, and it costs $100. That's real cheap.
Wow.
That's real, because they want you to come and get your license from them. So they give you a discovery flight, and and it counts. You get up in there, you fly. You take off and you fly and you land and you do the whole 9 yards, and it's $100, and you get a half an hour toward your license.
Yeah.
And so it's a real good deal. So we get to a place where we avoid things that we really don't want to avoid. You avoid the anxiety trigger to escape the uncomfortable symptoms. Like right now, we're going on vacation in October. Why? High anxiety. Do you know that pulling the trailer behind the truck sends her into orbit? This is why we were spending $2,000 for mirrors we didn't need, and to help her anxiety a little. And I'm thinking if it helps the anxiety, okay, But thank God there's nothing that'll fit them. So now we're getting the other one's going to cost less than $100. So that's going to be a better thing. But here's the way, if there's something like I know there's a rattlesnake over in that corner over there behind that tree, I'm going to avoid going over there because that's going to cause me some anxiety. And there's not anything over there I really need. There's not anything over there I really want. So I'm just not going to go over there, right? But what if it's something I want? That's what we have to do. We cancel a vacation due to fear of flying. See, my wife, I went to England about 10 years ago. Went to England and Scotland, had a great time. But my wife wouldn't go with me. I was over there for 9 days. And she was not. She had anxiety. She wouldn't fly over there. Okay. So, I had to go by myself. And then while I'm over there, the anxiety hit her here that I wasn't with her. So after about 4 days, she starts calling. Did he come home? Did he come home? Did he come home? Now I'm in the midst of this once-in-a-lifetime vacation. So I kept telling her, okay, I'm coming home. I'm going to go, lying like a dog. But I stayed there 9 days. So we're allowing anxiety to steal our lives if we do things like cancel a vacation because we're afraid of flying. Not going to that town because we're afraid of going to because of something that might be there. Or stuff like that. I come from Mississippi, and we're going to be cutting through Mississippi, and I saw a thing. I was kind of researching, where we're going to be, and I saw a thing there that said, the 5 most dangerous cities in Mississippi. Those guys just make up junk, so you'll watch their junk so they can make money, right? So, he went through every little town we're going to pass through. Biloxi, Mississippi, right? Now, Pascagoula, Mississippi. You have to be in. No, you don't. They have 4 people live in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Come on. All of that stuff. So he was causing anxiety, so I didn't let my wife see that. So you cancel that. You use drugs. Look, here's a big deal. You use drugs or alcohol to loosen up before socializing. Y'all ever do that? Yeah. Yeah. I used to do that. We used to go dancing years ago. And man, I'd have a 6-pack and a couple of shots, but I guarantee you I could dance better. Or at least I thought I could. So before I would socialize, I would go. I'd have something to drink before we went. And so that's what is that doing? It says I'm loosening up. What does that mean?
You have a social disorder you're trying to cope with.
Just trying to cope with a social disorder. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. What I'm trying to cope with in this cycle is anxiety. Yeah. I'm anxious about going out where there's other people. I'm anxious about the fact that I may not dance as well as everybody else that dances there. I'm anxious about this and I'm anxious about that. So I use drugs and alcohol to tamp that. Does that work? Yeah, it does. Yes, it does. I mean, man, I'd be all this anxious. I'd have a couple of shots of bourbon or a couple of shots of my favorite, which was vodka. And then I wasn't anxious anymore. I wasn't anxious. I felt good. I knew I could do it, man. That built my confidence up, and I would go and man, I could 2-step, 3-step, yeah, and do sometimes a 4-step. It was good.
Miss a step.
Yeah, I might miss a step every now and then, but nobody would know. I had and that just took that anxiety and put it out the door. But what did it do? Eventually, I was having anxiety about just getting up in the morning and going and doing anything. I was there for a long time, what's called a functional alcoholic. And I went to work, but I went to work drunk. Yeah, went to work drunk. And there were a few times when I went to work sober. Not as many times as I went to work drunk, but I went to work sober a few times. What do you think happened? Say it again.
Everybody's like,
yeah, and putting everybody's life in danger. But look, what do you think people said when I showed up at work sober? You okay? Are you all right? You feel? Are you feel? Because they didn't know me sober. So when I came to work sober, I was acting completely different than when I came to work every other day. When I'd come to work sober, I'd be hungover and sick and all of that kind of stuff and sober and scared and anxious and didn't know what was going to happen from not 1 minute to the next minute and just seeking after something to help that anxiety. And at some point, down through the day, I'd go to lunch or something and I'd take care of it. And I'd be back that afternoon and I'd be normal again. Happy, go, and lucky. All of that. And people would recognize me again. Okay. Things worked out pretty well. But it took me a long time to get to the place where I didn't have to use something to help with the anxiety in my life. Because do you know that getting up in the morning and going out?
I'm trying to throw it like. I didn't worry about it.
Getting up in the morning and just going out facing life will cause anxiety in your life. It will. When I was in the midst of my addiction, every day I got up to go out, I was messed up. There was a whole lot of stuff out there in that world that I had to deal with. And y'all remember me telling you that my dad used to tell me to keep a hair of the dog that bit you. You got drunk yesterday, so whatever you got drunk on, you keep a couple of ounces of that in the bottle and set it down by the bed. And then when you got up in the morning, you had something, a hair of the dog that bit you. And what that unfortunately did was just get your day started over again.
right.
It did help the hangover and all of that, but it just got your day started over again. There were some times when I was not able to stop using so that I could leave some of that stuff. Because if there's something left in the bottle, I need to drink it. I can't leave it. But, so that was problematic for me sometimes. You procrastinate on an important task. This is one of the things that I do. Why would I procrastinate? What does that mean? I'm just putting it off. Yeah. Don't do today what you can put off till tomorrow. And so why would I do that? Why would I procrastinate? Well, you could get drunk again. Here's the thing, though. If I'm procrastinating, that means if I go try to do what I'm supposed to do, that's going to cause anxiety in my life. Right? I mean, if I've got to go, I've got a couple of reports I've got to do. And when I go make those reports, that's going to be anxious. That's going to cause some anxiety in my life because those reports are kind of hard. And that's going to cause some anxiety in my life. So I'm going to put them off. I don't have to have them done till Friday. So when am I going to do them?
Friday.
Yeah. If I'm a procrastinator, which I can be, I'm going to do them Friday at noon. Yeah. They got to be in Friday at noon. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I have one. I'm seriously have one. I'm going to probably do that today. If I don't do it today, I'm going to do it in the morning because I was a procrastinator. And to get out of that, you have to get out of that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but don't have to call me no butt. I mean, I'm just trying my best up here.
All right,
Go ahead.
you said you're gonna do them at noon Friday,
Yeah,
but we had 5:30.
we had,
They lasted 45 minutes.
you have progress.
5 drill.
Oh, fire drill.
Casting.
Oh, yeah. That's what happened.
5 drill. So 45 minutes.
Yeah,
Before that is in at 1 o'clock.
yeah. And what he said was, what if something happens? You know, you got to have it in by 12, so you're going to start working on it in 15 minutes till 12, and they have a fire drill or something, you know, or somebody, Miss Kim calls the ambulance for somebody. And now what you got to do? They're going to come get me immediately, and I'm going to have to stand there like a lump on a log till all of that's taken care of, you know. And so there you go. What? Now you're late. Now what's that cause?
Press.
That causes stress. That causes anxiety. I will tell you something. I do appreciate the fact that when we started group today, there was about 3 people made it to group. Everybody else came ambling in. One of the things I don't do is I'm never late. What? And this is a little bit off, but this is a good training. Y'all get hold of this. Why are people late to group? Why are people late to work? Why are people late? Habitually late. Everybody's late every now and then. Everybody has a flat tire. This happens every now and then. But what about people who are late all the time? What's the deal? It's something we're going to be dealing with this week already, so you can be thinking about it. That's a sign of hidden anger. You're angry at somebody, even if it's yourself that you're angry with, and you're late to group, late to work, late to lunch, late to whatever, because you're punishing other people because you're angry. And a lot of the time, people don't even know, I'm just late. I don't. Well, if you didn't have one of those issues, you could be on time. Yes.
It could be just disrespect or disregard for others.
It is disrespectful and disregard for others, but there's always a reason that somebody is disrespectful or has disregard for other people. Usually, they're angry at something. There's always an outlier. Some people just don't know how to tell time, you know. Some people don't know how to do time management. You know, some people don't know how to do those kinds of things. So, that's why we're procrastinating, because we are trying to avoid the anxiety that whatever we're procrastinating on is going to cause for us. This is why, you know, I used to be a real bad procrastinator. I had to get to the place where if you come tell me something, Miss Charnel and I were just we had a little meeting before the group and everything, and that's what we decided. When this happens, whatever it happens, we're going to deal with it immediately before the sun goes down, before the group is up. We're going to deal with that immediately because I'm not a procrastinator anymore. And I apologize. I do a lot of talking, and I've always got a little frog in my throat there. So here's the deal. Avoiding, how do we get relief from all of that stuff? Avoiding the anxiety trigger lessens the discomfort, but the relief is temporary, and it always comes at a cost, right? If I don't go on vacation because my wife is scared for me to pull the trailer, and she told me the other day she wants to widen we have a fence around our land, and we have these big gates that we go out of, and she wants to widen those gates. I said, okay, is there a reason for that? She said, yes, you can't get out the gate with the trailer. Honey, we've done it 10 times.
Have you ever had an issue getting out the gate with the trailer?
No. But what we have to do, see, and here's our issue. When I pull out the gate, you know, I have to get my trailer and I go like this. And then I have to back my trailer up a little bit in the yard, get it lined out straight so I can go out out the gate. She said, "Well, you can't do it very well because you have to back it up." And I said, "Honey, that's how you get a trailer out of the gate. You know, you have to back it up, pull it forward, back it up until you can get out the gate with it. You know, it's not. I've been out that gate 10 times with it. We went to Alabama in 23. We went all the way, yes.
Well, 10 years ago, you was what?
Say it again.
10 years ago, you was how old?
10 years ago, I was.
Your age.
I still can't hear you.
10 years ago, you was how old?
10 years ago, I was 62.
Okay, now how old are you now?
I'm 70.
So she looking out for the best interest because one thing now, hopefully the trailer ain't got a scratch on it and she don't walk in on.
Well, she don't.
So you gotta look at it 2 sides now. You gotta look at her eyes. And then check this out. Even though she might not be in the circle with you when you're trying to get out the gate, if she's watching you, it'll cause some anxiety because she's nervous, she's getting scared that you ain't gonna make it.
That's
You're gonna
exactly.
scratch her lip for the trailer.
That's exactly it.
Or the truck, that's her truck, right? She
Yeah.
put it. See what I'm saying? That's for the situation. That's why she's gonna go out again.
Yeah, and it's her trailer too. Yeah. But it all stems back to that anxiety stuff. You know, because there's not a problem with me getting, you know. And then we're staying at about 5 different state parks, and most of them I got pull-throughs. But there's a couple of them that I have to back into. And she said, you know, I tried my best, you know, because you can't back a trailer very good. I said, well, I can back that trailer, I can put that trailer in here. Yeah, you know. Yeah.
Got one more good one for you. I'm
Right.
Okay. It's just like being on a job. After you do it repetition so many years, you run this machine, you get complacent.
Yeah, well.
Right or wrong?
Yeah, no,
Hey, so that's what she's saying, but God's saying so.
Yeah, yeah. But even if we, you know, here's the deal. Let me share this with you and then we'll move on. Because we didn't talk about my wife too much. If she sees this on YouTube, then it's going to be a divorce.
She won't tell anything.
Yeah. But, yeah, and you know, I have to watch.
I'm on your wife's team right about this. I'm on your wife's team. She looking out for her best interest.
But let me share this with you. You're on her team. Anxiety can be debilitating. That's why she didn't go to England. Anxiety robbed that from her. I can make that gate twice as big.
Yeah.
She's still gonna be anxious about it every time I pull out of there. Yeah, every time. So you know we'll probably wind up widening the thing if that makes her feel better. I'm going to have there's a power line over the thing, plenty high enough that she's scared of the power line. What if it's 12 feet above where I'm, okay, well, what if yes, that would be horrible, but it's 12 feet above. You know, so it's going to be fine, but I'm going to have that run underground so we can run over it. And then at that point in time, she'll have a problem with, you know, running over. You're running over that line. It's 12, it's 3 feet deep in the ground, but you're running. Something could happen. So that's how anxiety works. So here's the relief. Avoiding the anxiety. If we avoid it, it always comes at a cost. We didn't get to go on vacation because we were scared to go. You know, you miss out on your dream vacation. You know, isn't that crappy? Just because I'm anxious about it, yeah, we're going to hook up to her truck, which is supposed to be it's big enough to pull the trailer and all of that stuff without a problem. As we're pulling it to all of these places, we're going to Florida, we are, but we're going to Louisiana first, then Florida, then up into Alabama, back over into Mississippi, back to Louisiana, and then back home. So in that trip, it's a big old loop like that, so we can see my cousins who live in Alabama and my brother who lives in Mississippi. We're going to be in there actually on his 70th birthday. It's going to be a neat thing. We'll have lunch together and stuff like that. But is there a possibility that in doing all of that stuff that we may have a little issue? Or a possibility that I may go through a gate? When we went in 23, there was the map to get into whatever state park we were going to. They had shut off one of the roads, and it didn't say that on the map. And so I'm going down to that road, and when I got down there, there's this big old gate and closed, cannot go this way, you're stupid. And so I'm sitting there. We just got this road. There's a little bit of a road over there, and there's a little dot over here, but I'm on a straight road. How do you turn a trailer around? How do you turn a trailer around? It's 30 foot long. And that was horrible. I'm looking at you caused a little bit of an anxiety thing. I'm thinking, I'm going to have to back down this hill 4 or 5 miles to where we turned into this thing that had a big old sign that said State Park, but did not say road closed. You know what I'm saying? And so we went, okay, this is scrappy. Guess what it did? I turned that trailer around. And my wife still says, you can't drive a trailer very good. There's not a person on face earth could have done a better job. And so, but she was still, pulling a trailer, there is an art. But both of my sons were truck drivers at one time, and my older son is still a truck driver, drives for Walmart, makes a pot load of money once a month, because they fill up the back of his Walmart truck with money, and he takes that home and dumps it out at his house. But he taught me how to back a trailer. I used to try to get it over on that. So when I'm trying to back in, I'd get over on that side as far as I could, and then I'd try to be. And my son said, "Dad, that's backwards, man. You get your trailer on this side of the road, and then you can." So I did, and I learned how to do it. So that was some good stuff. So you lose some stuff, you miss out on that. You come, the next thing, and this is the one that has affected me and affected most of us, you come to rely on the use of drugs or alcohol to socialize. I was I couldn't socialize, I couldn't talk to people, I couldn't have a good time, I couldn't do anything much without having a couple of shots in me. Once that was there, I was fine. But it took a long time for me to get to the place where I wasn't really afraid of people. I'm not afraid of anybody now. But it took me a few years to get there, and it took God to help me get out of that. But all of that anxiety caused by other people, here's the deal. Now, y'all don't take this the wrong way, because some people just take things I say the wrong way. I don't care if you like me or not. Right?
Right.
I don't. Well, yeah, and that's your business.
That's one less person you got to deal with.
One less person we have to deal with. Let me tell you this. I love people. I am always around people. I don't want to ever be at a place where I don't have people around me. But if the people who are around me decide they don't like me, I had a lady tell me yesterday she didn't like me. Did that affect my life? Not at all. Now, for that moment, I said, ooh, well, that's nasty, but it's not going to, I'm not going to go home. I didn't go home yesterday, and I'm not going to go home today and cry all night because that one person doesn't like me, right? So I'm just not going to do that. However, I want everybody to like me. That would be magnificent, and I know that's not true, right? So if somebody doesn't like me, I'm not going to freak out about that. So therefore, I don't have to use drugs or alcohol to try to make myself palatable to you, right? I don't have to do that. I don't have to get to a place where I'm trying to be, and this is something that has hindered me down through my life, is I have been a people pleaser. Y'all know what that is?
Yeah.
Trying to make everybody happy. Trying to please everybody. Do you know that that's an impossibility?
No.
I'm going to please the people that is necessary and profitable for me to please. I'm going to please the Lord my God. That's the first one. I want to please Him, and sometimes I feel like I'm not doing much of a job at that, but I want to please Him. Secondly, I'm going to do my best to please my wife. And then thirdly, I would like to please my children a little bit, and then I have a whole church full of people. We took a little survey the other day, and we have the largest church on our block. On that block.
There's many churches on that block?
No, there ain't no more churches on that.
That's the only church on.
Now on our street, if you go down our street, there's like 5 more churches down the street. Within about two miles, there's about 5 churches. There's Calvary. We're Bethel Church, and then there's Calvary Baptist Church, and then there's First Baptist Church, and then the Pentecostal Church is right across the street over here. And if you go down the road there, the Christian church is right there. So, because there's a lot of bad people in that area, they all need Jesus. Yes, sir.
You know, that's what I noticed. Like the church I visiting since I've been here, they got one right here.
Oh, yeah.
40 feet at the most.
Yeah.
That's there.
Oh, yeah.
Right beside it.
Yeah. Why is it that we have so many churches in Texas?
You gotta keep the devil in church.
Look,
Please,
here's the deal. People need people. And so people congregate together. It's not because they all love God, because I've pastored many years, and I'll tell you, there's some people in the church that love God. There's a whole bunch of other people that don't, so it's about that. So real quickly, we have to go through. So you come to rely on drugs or alcohol or socialize, you have to work through an important task due to procrastinating. And I'll do that. I just got off the phone with, I'm the moderator of our association and at church, and we got a big old deal coming up, and we got a guy that's coming to preach, and I waited to the last minute, and he got a hold of me and said he ain't coming. So, okay, so I waited to the last minute. So now, we got to find somebody else. So, but that's the way I work. So that's the way that is. So real quickly, we'll get this done real quickly. Intensification, you begin to associate avoidance with feeling better. As a result, the next time you face a similar situation, that anxiety is worse, and it's even more tempting to use avoidance. So you give up on taking vacations. You don't go anywhere. You use more drugs than alcohol. You start doing poorly at work or school due to rushed projects, causing more anxiety and more procrastination. So this is that cycle of avoidance. We don't need to avoid the anxiety. We need to deal with the anxiety. Tomorrow morning, the first thing we're going to do is learn how to deal with anxiety. Thank you all. Appreciate you. I will be